took this tea course at one time, and the teacher was a Zen guy. And he always used to say to start from a space first life. I really love that idea. Space first life. Yeah. Because from that spaciousness of awareness, there's a lot of gratitude. This is the thing about this spiritual bypassing. Somebody was asking me about this the other day. The spiritual bypassing thing is interesting when it comes to non-duality, because I understand why people might think that. Yeah. That to say I'm not that, not that, not that, just let anything happen. Yeah. Or that I don't have to deal with anything. But in my experience, that is not what this is all about. Yeah. I really feel like if you want to bypass your life, if you want to ignore certain aspects of life, the message of non-duality is like the opposite direction that you want to go. Because the sitting in spacious awareness, nothing is excluded. You can't exclude anything, because as soon as something's excluded, that means there's an excluder. You see? You're pushing the shit away, essentially. Which is not the message. Yeah? To me, that's like the head taking the message and manipulating it for its own means. You know? The other thing that I really notice a lot is like that there's this idea that when you sit in what you are, that the body and the mind are just going to like disintegrate or something. And it's not, it's also, the message of non-duality and negation is not a denial. Yeah, even if you read the word denial to Nisargadatta, because I've read that in, I think he says that word, a denying or something, yeah, in I Am That, his book. I don't feel he actually means denial. It's a negation. And it's not like a hard negation of like, I'm not that, and fuck that, and the body and the mind are this, and yeah. It's just to say that I'm not that. That is not the ground of my being, the body and the mind, yeah. But when you attune or sit into that ground of being, whether you call it emptiness or shunyata or beingness or presence or what, yeah, it's full, man. It's not dead at all. It's very alive. And you really come in contact with the sense of individuality. It's like Ramana said, if there's a sense of individuality, there's a sense of free will, yeah? There's a sense of individuality. Now, for me, I really see that no self message of Theravadan or Mahayana Buddhism. Yeah, that when you inquire into the I, into the who, there is no thing there, which I could call J. But there's an I that pops. There's a sense of individuality. Now, if we're living from that sense of individuality, let's say the body and the mind, that sense of individuality, yeah, is fragmenting our experience. So the senses are dividing everything. They're creating a bunch of space. The head is in a, let's say like a vacuum of time. So it's moving around in time. So we don't actually get to know our individuality in great depth if we're living as that sense of individuality. But as soon as you sit back into what you are, yeah, and negation is like a mode in order to sit you back into what you are. To see in what many people would say what you're not, but there's still a sense of individuality. There's a body and a mind happening. There's contents of the space of awareness, yeah? Mm. There's a seeing before the eyes are seeing, but the eyes are still seeing. There's a hearing before the ears, but the ears are hearing. Do you see? It's just that that's not inherently what we are, but if we're living as that sense of individuality, as the body and the mind, there's all kinds of securities that our systems have in order to block out certain aspects, yeah, or minimize certain aspects. Life can't really flow that well because the body and the mind, the senses, the brain, all these things are fragmenting our experience. It's separating our experience. Negation is essentially saying, I'm not that which is separating the experience. Is there something which is seemingly separating the experience? Yes. It's fine, really, but I'm not that thing. Inherently the ground, yeah? I am the ground, let's say, of being. These are just words. I'm shunyata, emptiness, God, whatever, Buddha nature, whatever you want to say. Yeah. From the Buddha nature, there can't be a denial of any of the aspects or contents of the awareness. But the body and the mind are really what benefit from sitting back into the awareness, because the whole system relaxes. Life like moves through the body. Yeah, the thinking moves through. So life flows like currents, uninterrupted, unimpeded by the senses grabbing on or tension in the body, frictioning and trying to control the. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But the thing is, when you sit back into what you are, what you're not, yeah, from the form of negation, you see like with amazing intimacy. You actually start to love and get really, you start to love and really experience the sense of individuality. Maybe for the first time you've ever experienced a sense of individuality. Why? Because you're disentangled from it. Because you're sitting in that field of awareness. As soon as you disentangle from it, man, you get such an experience of sensation, emotion, thought. Yeah. There's no fragmentation of it. The whole thing kind of unifies with the experience. Oh my God. Yeah. So this thing about bypassing, yeah, if there's bypassing happening, that's a different game. That's not non-duality. It's not working. Yeah, that's like, in my view, the head is taking the message of non-duality and using it, just like it uses everything else. And it's that using of non-duality and using everything else which ends up fragmenting and adding a bunch of tension to our experience. Knowing individuality as an individual is super broken apart knowledge, I feel. There's actually very little knowing there. There's a lot of perceiving and interpreting, yeah. But the body's very tense, the mind's very tense, the senses aren't very open when that interpreting's happening. Yeah. So it's really manipulating things. It's like claustrophobic. I like that word because that's how it feels to me. When you're immersed in the body and the mind, the senses, it's like claustrophobic. Every possibility becomes like two possibilities. And you feel stuck. Which is then, this is where addiction starts to come in, yeah? You want to get out of that stuckness. But the initial movement, if you're living as self, which is that feeling of individuality, that sense of individuality, is you try to get out of it as it. So rather than relaxing into what you are and letting go of the grip on what's causing all the fragmentation and discomfort in the first place, you go in as that and try to get out of it as it. Oh, and self can't get out of self. We know this. So it binds the system even more. If you're identified as the system, you try to get out of it again as it, on and on and on and on, yeah. That discomfort becomes so much, yeah. People want to kill themselves. I mean, I spent a good portion of my life in that place of questioning if I should just kill myself because it might be the easiest thing, yeah. Yeah. Or hoping that drinking would actually do it for me because I wouldn't do it, yeah. So hoping that I could drink enough that the system would shut down maybe when I'm asleep or something, or at least I could be blacked out while the shutdown would happen, so I wouldn't experience it in such a way. Now, sitting into awareness is like the opposite of blacking out. It's lighting up. Yeah. So when it comes to bypassing shit, don't use light. Yeah. If you want to, I feel like actually alcoholism was trying to bypass shit for years and years and years, you know? Yeah. But as soon as you turn a light on, the light of awareness shines through everything, man. So you see it all, but you don't see it from the fragmentation of the head, from the interpretation of the head. Yes. It's simpler, it's much more direct. The sensation in the body opens up, the whole body can loosen, it can settle the fuck down. Yeah. The brain operates, but it's operating through this feeling of space. By the way, you're not space. It's a feeling of space. Yeah. Awareness isn't space. It's just that's how words can kind of touch it. It feels like space. So thoughts move through that space. Now, if you're living as the thoughts, you can't really see the thoughts. You don't see them clearly. Yeah? But as soon as you disentangle from them, you get to see them really clearly. So you see the individuality. Oh. And then it's like, doesn't matter the contents of the individuality. You just love it anyways. You just love it. Yeah? Fuck, man. It's like, it's like they say there is a solution in AA. There is a solution here to mental discomfort. I really like negation because negation says I'm not that, and then you sit into what you are. Yeah? And then all the things that you are not move around freely. Life begins to actually flow. It's not a I'm not that and I hate that too. No. It's just saying negation is an I'm not that as a vessel to sit you into what you are, yeah? It's a vessel. Whatever your opinions on Robert Adams are whatever, but in his book, The Silence of the Heart, I feel he puts it together really nicely, in where he actually says, like, it's a very soft, I'm not that. I'm not that. I'm not that. Yeah. Negation. Or inquiry is the same thing, yeah? Who? To who does it arise? To who does it arise? Yeah. It's not a hateful negation. It's not like that movie Hateful Eight, where they're all pinned against each other there. It's not this. It's not a hateful negation. It's just a knowing of what you're not, so that you can sit into the knowingness of what you are. Yeah. And then you really get to see the individuality. And it's a beautiful thing, man. Because the other thing is you really get to feel your body from the inside. This is the weird thing about this non-duality, is like not two, but there's a deep understanding of two-ness from not two. This may be the paradox of the whole thing. So the bypassing thing, if you want to bypass, pick a different game, because this ain't it. Everything is shone, light is shone on all aspects here. If you want to take non-duality and try to manipulate it with your head, that's up to you, but it's going to make you hella uncomfortable. It's definitely not going to help improve your life. I mean, I know that from experience. Like, my head did it for a time. Yeah, I did it in a way that wasn't comfortable, and it didn't prove any benefit. It actually just turned into like a super judgmental situation. Yeah. Um, but negation and inquiry, and I really love like just the settling down of the body. That's like the really the whole message is you feel it in the body. It's like the body gets like the paycheck, you know, because the thing can just settle down. Yeah, and we can stop like trying to get somewhere as the body and mind that it just ain't gonna do. Yeah, and then we love it as it is. Should we begin to love everything as it is, from what we are? Yeah. So all the language of "I'm not that," or you know what we are, let's say, it's not hateful language. It's a technique. Maybe not even a technique. Sorry, some people get angry if you say that shit. It's not a practice, whatever, man. But it's a way to sit back into what you are. Yeah. From what you are, the language is gone, so it doesn't fucking matter. Negation is gone, inquiry's gone. It's just then it's just there and everything is moving through that awareness as is. None as not two things. Yeah. But words are also not going to touch this. So beauty is like the teaching of non-duality is the teaching of beauty, I guess. Things as they are. Negation and inquiry and these things, the words we use, I'm not that, sit into what you are. They're like keys to the door, let's say. You already are that, yeah. But there has to be ways. We need ways, I guess.